Welcome to the crypto trading channel. My name is Stu. Guys, the weekly candle is going to close in the next hour, so volatility could end up picking back up soon here. So I want to take a look at a couple different possibilities for Bitcoin from here. I personally think that we are either going to see a bit of rejection from basically where we're at right now, maybe just a little touch higher, or we break through this resistance, invalidating this bearish STUBER fib on the lower time frames and push towards that 77K lower high resistance on the 4-hour. So with that, let's hop into some Bitcoin charts here. Like I said, on the 4-hour, when I say the lower high, so this is actually a very micro lower high, but it's literally the closest thing to a lower high that I can find on this 4-hour trend right now, just due to the fact that this was a low and then we ended up printing this lower low here. So the highest point between the two is right here, sitting at around 77K. So that's just going for the very micro trend, right? Obviously, the top of that range would actually be up a little bit higher, more so 79.3K, somewhere in there. But it is what it is. This is how the structure is looking to me. So until we end up breaking that, I just see no reason to celebrate prematurely that the bottom is for surely in. It's great to see that we got something like a 20% bounce to the upside. That is absolutely great to see. But that does not mean that Bitcoin is in the clear at this point. There is still several warnings in the chart on the mid and long-term timeframes. And guys, for those of you who are interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at the market structure in general, some of my trade setups, strategies, warnings, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code to gain access to my Telegram, which now, due to our exclusive partnership with Prime Automation, you will also grant you unlimited algo bot trading as well, systematic trading with no emotions attached, trading for you while you sleep, while you work, while you play, whatever, guys. And to top it all off, Blowfin is currently also celebrating this partnership by giving this special promotion for new signups under us, the crypto trading channel. So if this amazing free deal interests you, be sure to scan the QR code, you guys. But yeah, with that, I mean, just looking at Bitcoin for what it is on the 5-minute, I do see reasons why we could end up going higher, right? Just the fact that we did plunge so aggressively last week, just the way that the 4-hour structure is, I think it's absolutely possible that we end up retesting this resistance up here. That doesn't necessarily mean we're bullish, but it wouldn't really surprise me. But that being said, there is still technically this 5-minute setup. The fact that it hasn't been invalidated past the 115 yet, although to be fair, it does look like the price that the bulls are stepping in quite strong right now. VIPs actually know exactly how I have my laddered entries with this position, just in case it does play out, how I'm looking at playing it. But since it hasn't been invalidated yet, it has not hit a first take profit yet. It is what it is. So at this point, this is kind of the range I'm looking at. But if Bitcoin can break above 72.4K approximately, that's where I would start to target the bigger time frames, right? On the lower time frames, we have this resistance here. And if we zoom out, well, like I said, around that 77K level. But looking at the weekly chart as well, you guys know that I have been saying for a while now that I just don't like the look of this weekly chart. And being that, I mean, to be fair, there is about 54 minutes left for this candle to close here. But we have broke so much structure with this little downtrend we have, you guys. I mean, this is the first time I was talking about it. This was a very, very slightly higher high. It was just a very small fake out, but that confirmed this as our higher low on the trend. And ever since breaking that, we've just been losing structure, right? Losing important support levels, right? So after losing that, then obviously we tried to gain some momentum here, but just ended up getting shut down. So once again, setting a lower low. So even if we end up breaking that 4-hour structure, then we can zoom out to even our longer time frames. And on the weekly, so on the macro time frame here, we have some very heavy resistance starting at about 90K, actually, or 98K, actually a little bit lower, because if I pull a fib something like this, the 786 is actually closer to 89K. So or even 90K, I suppose. So basically, if Bitcoin gets a very nice bounce, it still doesn't really necessarily mean that we need to go to all-time highs or anything like that. I would be happy to see it. It's just that basically when we have a downtrend like this, when we get to those resistance levels, I'm not saying that we have to go straight to the downside, but if we get those bounces, just be sure to at least respect resistance, right? If you're in long positions, be looking to downsize and take some profits, updating stop losses, that kind of thing. If looking for new positions, I just wouldn't recommend longing into resistance on FOMO if we end up testing up into those resistance levels, right? So the fact that we took out that structure, even looking at this support level back here, honestly, to me, it wasn't as important just because we had already lost some micro structure on the trend, you guys. Just to kind of show you what I mean, like I said, this level here, but even if we wanted to say, well, if this higher high here doesn't satisfy you, what about this one here, right? We had this guy and then obviously a higher high there. We also lost that structure, right? So at this point, I'm not interested in looking at support from every single support level along the way from there. I mean, obviously, those are levels where we're likely going to see some sort of a bounce, right? But to actually be a trend reverser, I just don't know about that, because this level here, since we already lost the micro trend, that's where I start to look at, well, where did this swing actually start? When looking for the macro play on this, looking at the weekly chart, if that micro structure was broken, well, where is the macro structure from? Where did this swing actually begin? And that's the start of this back here, right? The start of the market cycle, just because of how serious the structure breaks have been on this continued downtrend that we've had. I wish I could say differently, but it is what it is. I'm still kind of expecting us to continue trending to the downside. And even if we see those bounces, right, this is a weekly time frame, it would not play out quickly. But even if we see those bounces along the way, I just can't help but feel we are eventually going to test my macro STUBER fib target, which would put Bitcoin down at around 40K, right? And just to show you before you say it can't happen, it has happened every other cycle since. Even if I can go back one more, even from this guy, I'm pretty sure we had one as well. Yes, we did. So every cycle so far, obviously that doesn't mean it has to happen again. It's just something that I'm definitely open to the possibility of. And that possibility has prevented me from getting wrecked while everybody's been FOMO longing into news, hopium and fundamentals and stuff like that, while we've traded aggressively to the downside for several months now. Just the fact that I was saying, it's not that we have to come down to this level, but it's at least a possibility. And keeping that in the back of my mind really prevented me from taking heavy losses and actually profiting to the downside on this trend, just for looking at the chart for what it could be rather than getting stuck in a certain mindset, right? So very important. That's exactly why we trade charts and not tweets, right, guys? So, another thing I want to do here, first of all, I want to catch up on the chat a little bit. Thank you guys for being with me once again. If you do appreciate these live streams, you appreciate the new product with the that partnership with Prime Automation, getting that to you guys for absolutely free. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But yes, the bots, good question. You need the USDT in the futures account. Yes. To have them run it to back to 79K. I would love to see that. And like I said, I think it's absolutely a possibility, right? The fact that this lower high is at around 77K, but fake out zone would be a little bit higher, right? Let's pull a Fibonacci from there to the downside and notice that the 115 invalidation is right around that 79.6K. And actually on the daily time frame, that's where the lower high actually is. So no matter how you want to look at it, basically the Bitcoin bulls have a lot of work to do. That's I don't want to be a perma bear. Just unfortunately, the trend is your friend. And at this point, we just haven't broken a trend, right? Even at this point, I know a lot of people would say that if we end up getting a close above this, for example, a lot of people will say, hey, we set a higher high, but we never actually broke a lower high, right? We wouldn't have actually done that. So at that point, I wouldn't actually consider that a high and a higher high if it ends up happening. I want to see a lower high on the trend break. And from there, I would be interested in looking at longing pullbacks and stuff like that, right? Either we end up getting a big one of these, and then we have an actual support retest rather than YOLOing into support and trying to catch a knife. at least at that point, there would be some sort of structure backing up the fact that we have a new confirmed low. And in that case, I would be interested in something like that. But even if we don't get that big pullback and we just start staircasing higher, I would be interested in looking for those Fibonacci pullbacks. You know, if we end up staircasing higher, setting higher highs, something and like that, I would absolutely love to start scalping the upside as well. Just how it is right now, I don't really have FOMO for the long side. You guys absolutely crushed the downside. Like I said, I'm actually still holding 5% of the short that I did share with you guys live in the Telegram when I took that position. Hopefully some of you guys are still in it or ended up riding that out with me. Obviously paying myself along the way, but just keeping a little bit open at this point. I closed most of it at around half of the remainder of my position. I had about 10% running. I closed another half of that at around 61K. And I have just a little 5% of my position still running in case we do absolutely nuke through support and continue the downtrend, right? So it's a very nice position to be in. The fact that I'm just really not that concerned either way. I am very stress free right now. I have a nice running short position. I have some bots running for me. You know, it's a very relaxed position to be in, as opposed to people who are now wondering what the hell to do because they ignored all my bearish warnings when we were up significantly higher. You know, that's why I take those positions and why I let them run if possible, because now the market is so volatile that getting into new positions is actually quite risky. I mean, even like right now, ooh, I think we have hit a couple more of my entries. Did that hit? Oh, that wouldn't have quite hit my last entry. But we'll see what happens with that, right? I mean, even this short, it could end up getting stopped out. And if so, so be it. Can't win them all. But willing to take a stab at that just because it's, for me, it's a systematic trade setup, right? It's not that no trade setup is going to win every single time. And that's not what trading's about. Trading is also about good risk reward, right? I notice that rather than shorting into a breakout and having a very far invalidation, I'm more so laddering into positions on the resistance retest, right? So that brings my average entry up and it keeps my loss very minimal in a case like this, right? So we'll see what happens with this position, but that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Like I said, those of you in the Telegram, you saw my exact orders, how I was looking at playing that, what my thoughts are there. High time frame structure is effed. Absolutely couldn't agree more. Just catching up on the chat. Can I look at gold? Yeah, I can look at gold for you. Actually, I wanted to look at hype as well, just because hype has been one coin that has been running quite well recently, you guys. Notice that we did come very close to a nice STUBER fib here on the 4 hour. So at this point, I don't know if we're seeing a lot of strength because it got front run, or if maybe this move hasn't happened yet and we're still going to test into that support. But this is a valid setup for me as well, just because of how the structure looks. Here we have our high, and we obviously set a higher high. That means this is our higher low because it's the lowest point between the two. And that is how I'd be looking at that range. If we end up losing this support, then at that point, I would be thinking that we're coming down closer to the bottom of the range and looking at a fib pull, more so something like this. Unfortunately, that gets, if you're looking to play the trend like that, just how the structure lines up in this scenario. Basically, as soon as the smaller one gets invalidated, there's another potential setup. So that just gets a little risky if you're going to keep trying to play the same one. So depending on your risk tolerance and all that sort of stuff. But if the trend is going to continue to the upside, this is kind of what I'm looking at on the 4 hour for entering a position on something like that. I would more so want to basically see us come down into my actual support levels and then see something on the 5 minute, confirming, let's say, a 5 minute STUBER inside the 4 hour STUBER range kind of a thing. But yeah, let's take a look at gold. So gold, see, gold actually did break some structure on the 4 hour, right? So obviously it broke a ton of it when it ended up taking that big correction to the downside. But at least we had this with gold, right? We had this low, we got a little bounce because we have a green candle and we have a new lower low. Therefore, this would have been our confirmed lower high. And we did technically end up breaking that. So I don't think we came down to the 786 there. No, we never. So I don't know. Mixed feelings for that one on me. I personally don't trade gold. I don't have a ton of experience trading gold, but just looking for some sort of confluence in the charts. Never quite came down to my ideal buy zone, so it's a little bit risky for me. Taking a look at some of these new indicators, guys, this is something else I wanted to take a look at is for Chart Prime, you guys, same company as the Prime Automation. They also have these indicators, and in the description down below, you can actually get 35% off of those as well with the discount code through the crypto trading channel. So if that interests you, check that out as well. But I've been using a few of these recently, some beautiful indicators as well. So notice that right now, this trend, this is a very strong trending indicator here. And you can see that we are facing a little bit of resistance there. Let's bring up this other indicator here. The Oracle Pro Plus. So this is trending to the upside. We are still above both of these bands here. Potential resistance if we go a little bit higher there. So kind of seeing mixed signals on the indicators right now, which is, I don't really like that. Well, I don't overly like that automatic wedge either. Just it's, I don't like how it's shaped, basically. I'm just picky when it comes to my triangles, but yeah, I have mixed feelings about gold, honestly. Obviously, it was in a very strong trend and a correction was due, but man, this correction, it really smashed through a lot of structure. So basically, the fact that we broke some very bearish structure here, right? Because once again, high, higher low, we end up breaking that. So we very much so confirmed this as a top pivot point. However, like I said, the fact that we broke this level, we also confirmed this as a bottom pivot point, right? So we are just basically, gold is back in a very large range, and I would not be surprised to see it consolidate in this very large range for a very long time once again. That would not surprise me at all, to be honest. And yeah, that's a good point as well, not going into any shorts until seeing a bearish setup on the lower time frames. And that's exactly why I did end up taking this short, right? Just because on the 5-minute there was this bearish setup here. That's the only reason why I ended up laddering into this new short. Because yeah, you know, the fact that last week we dumped so aggressively and we haven't really retested even the 4-hour structure here, I absolutely see the possibility that we do go higher. It's just that I do have that smaller time frame scalp setup here that I was willing to roll the dice and swing at, basically just cutting my losses quickly if we end up breaking above 72.5K, basically. Just basically treating it as a scalp first. If we start hitting my first targets, then I will be updating my stop loss to break even on the rest anyways, and just hopefully it turns into a runner. But basically hoping for a scalp first and hope for a runner second, kind of a thing. My stop on Bitcoin is 72,555. When I have a position running like this with only has about 5% running, how do I add new positions? Yeah, through a sub account or a second account. I have many accounts. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, Licky. Licky Licko. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Love your setup, bro. You keep to your strat and ain't being an emotional wreck. And that's exactly it, right? Having a systematic trade strategy, and if it loses, that's fine. It loses. You know, if you're an emotional wreck because you take a loss, or an emotional roller coaster when you take a win, chances are you're trading with way too much money or way too much leverage, or you don't have any sort of, you're just trading on a gut feeling and looking for that thrill of gambling, right? So that's where, just in this case, even though I feel like we're going higher on the 4-hour, I'm taking the trade because the setup is there. That's all there is to it, right? So basically turned from a STUBER fib into a swing fail. Like I said, I just missed my last entry. My last laddered entry was actually at 72,333. So just basically missed it by a few bucks. But hit my first two. Basically entered at the 786 and the 1 fib. VIPs in the Telegram saw my exact entries orders there. What is the most reliable in terms of breaking market structure? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. As far as time frame, like I personally really like trading the 5 minute. The 5 minute and the 4 hour. Basically, I treat the 4 hour like swing trades, and I treat the 5 minute more so like a scalp. But often I'll more so be looking at the chart on the 4 hour and then looking for the 5 minute to kind of provide confluence to that a lot of times. Percent of capital more so depends how big the loss is going to be. Like it depends where I'm laddering into my positions. I really don't want to lose more than usually 1%. Sometimes if I'm really confident on a trade, I'll have my invalidation be about 2% for a loss. But again, I just really don't want to completely wreck my account within a couple of days just from a few bad trades kind of a thing. So once you get comfortable with your position size and kind of just at a quick glance being able to figure out approximately how much your loss is going to be, when you can very quickly kind of figure out where approximately your average entry is going to be, how far away your loss would be if you hit all of your entries, basically, right? But everyone has their own risk tolerance. Basically, if anything makes you uncomfortable, you're just using too much for your risk tolerance. Basically, that's all there is to it. So often I'll do like, let's say 10% of my account on a trade, and then the loss can't be more than, 15, 20% somewhere in there on that position. Nice to see we're getting this little rejection here. Hoping to see us hit my first target, basically front running the 0.5 fib a little bit, and second target front running the 214 target by a little bit. I think my last take profit that's preset right now is like 68,433, I believe is the exact order. But even if we hit my first target, I'm going to be updating my stop loss to break even. Which, speaking of that, I should probably go and double check how that position is sitting, where my average entry is, so that I can start updating things, including Telegram members here. So I never add when it goes my way. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I will. If I gain more confidence or more confluences, more indicators triggering something of interest or whatever, or if I know that I can update my stop loss into a profit, yeah, sometimes I will add into my positions, but I need the structure to form to be able to do that, to not totally destroy my own position, right? I need it to actually be legit structure forming where I'm comfortable bumping that stop loss without just accidentally screwing myself over, basically. So I do it the odd time, but usually I try and let positions run. I'm going to give the bot a test run after this carnage has settled. Actually, you know what? So far, the best I've seen it perform was the day that the market absolutely shit itself. Was that Wednesday or Thursday or whatever? That was actually the best performing day that it's had so far. That day alone outweighed all of the losses combined that they have taken over the last couple of weeks. And then the rest is profit. So can't really complain. Obviously, just like any trading strategy, obviously things lose trades, they win trades. Definitely just, start small. It's totally free to try out. If you don't like it, then if it's not for you, so be it. But to have that free opportunity to try something like that and test it out, I don't know, I've really been enjoying it. The platform's super nice and easy to use, and modifying things, it's been a lot of fun. And speaking of that, just to kind of take a look at it, just to show you how easy it is to set up a bot once your account is linked, once your API is linked, just to kind of show you how it goes here. I know you guys probably have seen my video about it already, but let's just say, for example, I want to start this bot on Jupiter. I like the momentum that it has right here. Clicking subscribe, click and connect. Like I said, I threw a couple grand in this account a couple of weeks ago to kind of play around with these bots a little bit. So here I just have it set to 10% of the account. It'll automatically do so. I can select my leverage kind of a thing. So let's just go to 3x, start bot. And boom, bot is set up, right? So very cool, very easy to use. Really liking using that platform. So, and best part, like I said, it's free. So with that, my friends, I think that's about all I really wanted to go over. Actually, one last thing, you guys, since it is the weekly time frame and I do want to do that weekly update. I know I was just showing off these new indicators. This is something that really caught my attention. I'll keep it on the logarithmic scale, not that it matters, but bringing up this chart prime 3D indicator here. Just notice what happens generally. This is that strong trending indicator that I told you about, right? Let's actually go to the regular chart. You can see it a little better. But this is a very strong trending indicator, and notice what has happened recently. We basically flipped that trending indicator to bearish. We came up and damn near retested that resistance of that indicator, just like we did last cycle here to continue on our bear market. So that's just also not a very good look when zooming out and looking at the weekly chart. Generally speaking, this indicator has really been bang on for looking for those big momentum moves on the macro time frame like this. So again, just more confluence supporting the possibility that we are in a full-on bear market, right? Very happy to be wrong about that. I would love to see the price just get a nice V-shaped recovery, flip this thing blue again, act as support, and we carry on into the super cycle that everyone keeps promising. But just for what it is right now, I would rather trade the chart that's currently here rather than what I hope is here a few months from now, right? So anyways, guys, I think that is about all that I wanted to go over today. So one last time, if you appreciate these live streams, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if I didn't get to all your chart requests, I'll take a look and see if I can post any in the Telegram later. And just a reminder for those of you interested in learning and just seeing more examples of how I am looking at market structure, some of my trade strategies, some of my trade setup ideas, how I'm looking at Fibonacci's market structure, giving more of my thoughts on the market in general. Do yourselves a favor and get in my Telegram by scanning the QR code. And like I said, that actually currently also gives access to a free account with Prime Automation for free algo trading bots. Unlimited, not limited to 10 like the pro plan. The crypto trading channel members are unlimited. So very cool that they were able to set that up for us. And just very cool, you guys. So with that, if that is something that interests you, like I said, scan the QR code. And my partners at Blowfin are currently also celebrating that partnership and giving you guys, at least new members, new signups under the crypto trading channel, this special promo as well to give that a try. So if that interests you, you know what to do. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for being here with me once again. Peace out.